Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, Val Kleinhans, where we like to talk music from time to time. Today is one of those days. Singer Linn Holmes is in the building. I am very grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I know you're in LA right now, but I read that you grew up in Sweden. Wait, tell me about that.
Yes. Yeah, no, so I'm born and raised in Sweden. My family's Swedish. As Swedish as can be. And I moved to Los Angeles in 2018, originally to study at Musicians Institute in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And it feels like a little fairy tale almost. I've been in Los Angeles before a couple times, but I literally moved straight from Little Sweden to a Hollywood apartment, like one of those like old classic like 1920s Hollywood apartments. It
Wow.
was so haunted. It was
It-
so haunted.
what? Wait, what went down? What went down? We need paranormal
Oh my
details.
God. Oh, so many things.
Okay.
So many things. Okay, I lived in that apartment for about, I'd say 2.5 years.
Hmm.
And it was right off of Whitley and like the Whitley Heights area, that is like a part of the historic Hollywood area. It was like down the street from there.
Mm-hmm.
And my speakers would always break. We went through probably a solid of 10 Bluetooth speakers.
Oh my God.
It always had to do with sound. And at first we thought it was kind of weird that like nothing would play in the apartment, but like the connection was fine. Like we
Mm.
literally stepped outside, it was fine. Like it had nothing to do with like, I mean, we had a fully functioning Wi-Fi. Like why wouldn't it work? And then so we started just playing music through our phones. I literally have this on video. What would happen is that we'd put on just, a playlist or whatever, and the
Hmm.
songs would switch on their
Oh,
own.
okay.
And I literally have this happening on video, like
What?
filmed with video. We'd just place the phone on the table, and it would just switch.
What? To
Isn't
like
that
maybe a song.
weird?
It is so weird. Maybe they like the other song better. I don't know.
Literally, there was one time, this happened over like a year time. And there was literally one time when it kept like going to I'm so excited by the Pointer Sisters. And on a
My
different
God.
device though, on a laptop. And we were just kind of like,
Not the Pointer Sisters. Not the Pointer Sisters.
not the
But
Pointer Sisters. Why the
who
Pointer Sisters? But it
knows?
was great. I mean, it seemed like a friendly ghost. There were times where things would get misplaced all the time. I mean, I lived with a roommate and, we'd hear someone talk, things
Oh,
like that, you
could you
know.
make out what they were saying or just mumble?
Not really, but it was almost like a Friends episode. Like we were both in bed and we both just kind of like, what was that? That was
Uh-oh.
you. No, that was you.
Oh
And then we
no.
both went back to sleep and it happened again. We're like, no, that was you. It's like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah. Everybody's pointing at each other like we can't figure it out, but it's one of
Exactly.
us. It's somebody
Exactly.
here.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
No,
No, that's
but
so weird. That is so weird. When I
yeah,
had
no, it was
back in the
wild.
day, back in the day, I had
Yeah.
like a garage band that I was working on with some friends in high school. And
Hell yeah.
we went to her garage. It was an all girl band. I was very set on it being like an all girl band. And I
Love
played
that.
guitar. I don't play guitar
Cool.
well, but I tried. And I
That's
remembered
all
that
that
like
matters.
it is all that you tried is all that matters. So I remember like I was playing and I could not get the tuning down and I would hear
Mhm.
strings playing when I wasn't playing. And I was like, Michelle, what is going on? Her name was Michelle. I was like, what is going on with like your
Mhm.
connection or your electricity? Like, something's happening with the frequencies here. And it kept happening. I could never tune it perfectly. It always went out of tune. And I was like, is it the atmosphere? Is it the cold? Like, what is it? Because
Yeah.
this is the basement. It's an old basement. And she's like, well, the last owner did die in the basement. And I'm like, don't tell me that. My God.
No.
Stop. I'm like, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that while we're trying to do this.
Oh, oh, that's awful.
I
That would
was like,
freak me out.
apparently he had like a heart attack in the basement or something and passed away. And I'm like, well, now you tell me. Thanks.
Yeah, no, exactly, exactly. Oh my God, I love paranormal stuff.
Me too.
It
I can talk about it
freaks
all
me
day.
out, but oh my God. Well, because like when I moved to Hollywood for the first time, like I had read up on all of the like Hollywood myths and everything,
Hmm.
but it totally like, I mean, like a life crash course in like every single way, shape, and form. I didn't realize that like, me researching Houdini and thought like his story was so interesting, but then moving into an apartment on my own that was like so haunted,
Oh, got
was not really like planning for that, but
it.
it's okay.
But
It's
it
okay.
happened.
It happened, it makes for a good story.
It does. So, wait, were you interested in the subject before, or are you a little bit more of a skeptic sometimes? Do they even talk much about it in
Um,
Sweden? Because I'll tell you, like, my Swedish
yeah.
experience with the paranormal and spiritual stuff is
Uh-huh.
pretty limited. Like, I'll tell you a little story. I went to see Opeth, which is one of my favorite Swedish metal bands of
Oh,
all time. Yeah.
hell yeah.
So,
I love
hell yeah.
Opeth.
They're amazing. And Michael went on, it was Halloween here in the States.
Hmm.
And Michael, their singer Michael, went on stage and said, "You all look like dumbasses because we don't do spiritual things or Halloween in Sweden."
No,
Essentially,
we don't. We don't.
that's what he
I mean,
said.
I will say, I don't know if this is just like the people I've been around growing up, or if it's like a Swedish thing. But I find that like it's kind of a meme that no one knows when Halloween is.
Oh, okay.
Like because we have like the Day of the Saints where like you traditionally go to like a graveyard and light a candle for your past loved ones.
Oh,
But I don't know. I've seen it like circulate on social media like every October. Like when is Halloween? Because like people don't know, you
it's
know?
not a thing.
Because here you celebrate it for like a week or like a
Yeah,
month, you know?
we're stoked. I love the idea that
I
it's the
love
one
it.
day of it's like the one day of the year where you can get away with being whatever it is you want to be. That's
Oh
what
my
my
God,
favorite
it's
part about
so
it
fun. Yeah, it's
is.
so fun. Like literally any reason to dress up.
Do it.
Oh my God, I went with my girlfriends last Halloween. We dressed up as the Powerpuff Girls,
Yes, were you
and
Buggles? Did the hair
I
dictate
was,
who was who?
oh yeah, oh
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so.
And like our personalities line up as well.
Okay.
And it was just perfect. Like literally everyone's haircuts are the same,
Oh
you
God.
know? We did like a steampunk Powerpuff Girls and I was so proud. I was so proud.
Is there photographic evidence of this? I need to stalk Instagram
Yes.
again and find it. Okay, I need
Yep.
to go find it
Yep.
because that's amazing.
Let me say that I've been one of those people that like did something once and will totally be spamming about it for years to come. I've posted those too many times, but I
I
can't
would
help myself.
too.
Can't help myself.
No, I don't blame you. I love that. I love the vibe. I love the tone of your voice too. When I was listening to you, just to catch up, your voice, I just had to ask, was it something that you've worked on and taken lessons on, or is singing something that just kind of comes naturally to you?
Thank you so much. Well, so my mom was a gospel singer.
Oh, okay.
Um, and well, she was in a gospel choir when I grew up. And the story goes that, or what my parents would always tell me, they didn't really have a babysitter for me growing up. My mom would take me to the gospel choir with her because they were
Oh,
playing a lot of shows and a lot of rehearsals, and she just have me with her and they would pass me around in the choir. And like we'd always listen to a lot of music in the household I grew up in. I think like one of my like earliest core memories is my mom singing "Oh Happy Day" in the living room, like
oh,
trying to teach me the harmonies and
okay.
like practicing her harmonies. And it was kind of like a natural thing. Like I started in a choir inspired by my mom when I was 3.
Hmm.
And we did like our first TV show when I think it was 4. Like my parents were both in music, not professionally, but um they're very inspired by music and just music lovers 100%. So I started in choirs. I started studying classical music when I was 9, and did vocal training. Started studying jazz or a more jazz oriented school when I was about 16, I think, 15 or
Hmm.
16. So I've done a lot of vocal lessons, a lot of vocal training. But I don't know, it's never really because what I sing mostly for myself is very blues rock and
Mm.
gospel and soul. And I think a lot of the influences just came from my parents.
Oh, okay, got it. Is that where the
Yeah.
70s aesthetic and the 70s vibe
Yeah.
comes into from them, or did you discover that on your own?
It kind of both. Like my dad would always show me his favorite rock records, a lot of Sweet, a lot of
Hmm.
Guns N' Roses, Queen, just everything in between. But I had like a very pivotal moment when I think I was 16, where I discovered Fleetwood Mac.
Of
And,
course you did. Of course you
you
did.
know, of course
I
I
was
did.
gonna, I didn't want to do the Stevie thing, but I was gonna do the Stevie thing. I was like, there is a
Oh.
little vocal fry that's similar to her. There is.
It gets worse. It gets worse. So around this time, it was a very like, like as a teenager, when you kind of like have that moment where you kind of step into, not necessarily stepping into your own, but there's like almost as you find like your genre for the
Mm,
next like
yes.
year or two,
Yes, yes.
and not necessarily musically, but just like your preferences.
Hmm.
And I discovered Fleetwood Mac, absolutely obsessed with Stevie Nicks, fell in love with Lindsey Buckingham, and I started my first band all at the same time. And of course, I was convinced we were the new Fleetwood Mac. You
Yes.
know, I cut the bangs. I had the exact Stevie Nicks haircut, the
Hmm.
exact haircut with the side part and everything. Me and my best friend flew to London to see Stevie Nicks in Hyde Park on a whim. We just kind of got tickets and said, we're gonna go see Stevie Nicks in London. I mean, that's a different country.
Dream trip.
Um, yeah, no, it was wild. But that really, I think, shaped just kind of like my songwriting and my vocals and just kind of how I go about like as an artist. Those years really, really impacted just kind of what I do today.
Hmm.
Because we were playing a lot of shows and we were just so excited to like be doing music that and being a band and just kind of like eh, deep dove in all these different bands that we were discovering, and it's just a really inspired time. So I think a lot of that came from there.
God, okay. It was never a phase, Mom. It was never a phase. We're still doing
It
it.
was never a phase.
It
I
was.
still think I'm Stevie Nicks.
Sometimes, I mean, listen, she's a
You
person
know,
to aspire to be. It doesn't get much better
yeah,
when it comes to songwriting, honestly, in my
no,
opinion.
exactly.
Yeah.
Silver Springs makes me cry any given time or day,
Hmm.
It
Period.
just does.
So,
Period.
aside from your solo work, you've been a session singer too, multiple times.
Yes.
And I've wondered what the journey of a session music was like. I haven't got really the chance to ask anybody this yet. What do you think some of like the pluses and minuses to being a session musician versus
Ooh.
doing solo work are?
Ooh, I have to say, like, I love doing session work. It, it really enables to meet so many amazing people, to make music in so many different genres, and it really, I find for me, it's like almost like a playground. Like, it doesn't feel
Hmm.
like work at all. Like, getting to sing with so many different I mean, again, so many different artists and different bands, and it's such a different experience each time. Like in a week, I could be on 5 different gigs, and it's completely different audiences, completely different songs. The way I dress, the way I sing is different. My approach to the gig is different. The preparation is different. And it really keeps it so fresh and so new.
Mhm.
And it's so just so interesting. I don't know. I feel like it keeps you growing in a different way.
I would imagine.
And
I would imagine it
yeah.
inspires your solo work a little bit too. If you're
Oh,
not that you want
so
to,
much.
right, not that you necessarily want to copy, but you're taking in the influence, you're taking in the room, you're in the energy.
It's such an honor to get to meet all these amazing musicians and just hardworking artists that, it's so cool to see what they're doing and to get to be a little fragment of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, then, it's a lot of music to learn, and sometimes it can be challenging balancing things, but, it's a blessing to get to learn the music as well. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily a minus.
Okay. God, it makes a lot of sense. It sounds like there's very little negative reasoning behind
Yeah.
doing it. That you can't. There's no reason not to do it. Is what I'm getting at.
No, no.
Sounds good.
It's so much fun.
And in honor of the title of the new EP, we're going to talk about the new EP, of course. Introducing
Yes.
Linn Holmes. I wonder what you think that it takes to for an artist to make a strong and memorable introduction today, because we've got a lot of musicians out there. I mean, so
Mm.
you're calling this an introduction to Linn Holmes. What
Yeah.
should we do to make a good introduction if we're an artist?
I think being really true to yourself and true to what you want to do and what you want to say, I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to say that and be who you are, and not feeling like you have to, because there's so much going on with music, and like there's, with social media and everything, there's so much pressure to be a certain way and look a certain way, and, not giving in to the pressure of having to be that, but
Mhm.
being yourself, just unapologetically.
There we go. That's how you get the
Yeah.
attention. Tell me everything that we
Yeah.
need to know about introducing Lynn Holmes. What can we expect when we take a listen to it?
Oh, I like to look at the EP as just like each song is a different season of my life. And these songs it's been a long, long time coming. I've been sitting on these songs for a long time, and they're all I like to think of them as painting a sort of picture perfect vintage daydream, as I quote myself. Can't believe I just quoted myself. But it's very specific feelings and scenarios, and I just like to take the listener through like a little short film. Like
Yeah.
each song is a little short film. And I'm so grateful for, I mean, the amazing players on the record. Tom that co-wrote the songs with me and produced the album. Absolutely phenomenal. And there may be some exciting more announcements soon to come, so keep
Ooh,
an eye out. Keep an
okay.
ear
On the
out.
socials. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's
Let's hit that
go.
follow button. Let's keep it up. Well,
Hell yeah.
I really enjoyed just browsing through a little bit of Instagram too, and I saw there was a couple covers that I'm assuming you're just doing just because you want to do them. You're fun. One of my favorite ones was
Yeah.
Mercy from Duffy. I was like, that suits her voice
Ooh,
so well. I was like, of course she
thank
chose that.
you. I
So
love Duffy.
more covers in the future, maybe, possibly. How do you feel about covers?
I think they're fun. I mean, I just love singing the covers, it's fun. I mean, I think if you really like a song and you know, s- there's just so many bops out there. Just it's so
Almost.
fun. And I think also something for me when I started just recording covers and just little snippets for, I mean, literally for Instagram, I learned so much about just vocal production because I
Mm,
started doing that years ago, and it really taught me a lot about just running my own sessions and mixing my own vocals and what mics sound good on my voice, and learning that my SE electronics that I've been using has been really great for my tone, in my
mm,
opinion, and that perhaps I just prefer a warmer mic,
yeah.
and it's little things like that I think is really it comes in really handy as a singer, being as independent as you can and knowing your instrument in as many ways as you can so you can be as self-going. Because, being able to record sessions from home when you work is such a great skill to have as well.
Yeah.
Of course, being able to have the equipment, but also if you go into a session at someone else's place or in a studio, already kind of knowing what your vocals does in a studio or what you tend to do while you record. It's such a good skill to have. And
How
it
do
really kind of
you
like taught me that.
Yeah, how did you hone that skill? Because I think I would imagine it takes time for a musician to even learn not just what sounds good and what doesn't and what works with their preferences and their tone and their voice or
Yeah.
their instrument, whichever it is, but also, okay, how do I do that while I'm in someone else's house, so to speak? How do I do that
Oh my
when I've
God.
got another producer on this or I'm in somebody else's studio and
Yeah.
I got to collaborate with them and I know what I want to push for, but I can't be too pushy. Like that just sounds like a lot to navigate. So how do you hone that skill?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just communicating and trusting everyone's ears,
Yeah.
trusting the people you work with, and just not putting too much pressure on the situation. Just I know that I tend to slur my articulation sometimes a little bit too much, a little too bluesy in the articulation. So that's something I like to just keep in mind. Um, I know just my default volumes in different registers.
Mm.
Just kind of helps to navigate the session a little bit more efficiently. But really just, being respectful, being communicative, just having a good time in the session. I mean, if you got good vibes, that comes a long way too.
Period. And I know we're going to see more from you
Yeah.
as in the future. I can't wait for it all. Lynn, thank you for hanging out with
Thank
me. Thank
you.
you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.